An open letter to management. Which management, I hear you cry? All of them. In the future, I'll be more than happy to make tutorials on listening and not grinding on everyone's nerves and not being so very unhelpful that it makes everyone's lives poo. But for right now, I have just a few succinct suggestions. These suggestions will dictate how this week's video is segmented. Suggestion number 1. Calm your tits, or at least wrangle them off of me. Now, I'll be clear. Medical professions, lawyers, infrastructure jobs, this is not for you. What you do is important. In some cases, you literally hold the lives of others in your hands. In fewer cases, you literally hold the feet of others in your hands. Less important. No, this message is for the managers of cafes and bars, restaurants, and vine pruning establishments. Whatever stress, and I use the term loosely here, whatever stress you experience while providing people spaghetti or coffee or slightly shorter vines, years of first-hand experience across 2 continents with your wide-eyed ferreting shows me quite clearly that your panic doesn't help. Suggestion number 2. Please let me do my job. As a general rule, people don't like doing things. We'd much rather pay someone else to do those things. This is where you, the manager, come in. Your boss values your time less than they do their own. Their boss does the same to them, and it goes around and around this oligarchical merry-go-round until you get to me, the peon. This is the system working. But there's a problem, a fly in the ointment, a missing pinky toe. Many managers forget this sacred rule and think it's best to do everything themselves. It isn't. I could point out all the various ways it isn't, but I'm tired of fighting you to do my job. Suffice it to say, it's less hassle for you and more job satisfaction for me. Please, let me do my job. Suggestion number 3. Please keep your weight to yourself. It is said that the factory of the future will have 2 employees, a man and a dog. A man to feed the dog, and the dog to keep the man from touching the machines. Some managers I know would want a 3rd employee, someone to feel important over. These managers have forgotten that they've been put in a place of power because their time is valued less than someone else's. This ignorance allows them to strut around like a disheveled and poorly manicured peacock, announcing from on high that I am the manager. What I say goes. Just so long as I clear it upstairs. Usually this type of manager is pretty harmless. They act on their boss's orders and pretend it was their own idea. But every now and then they get flashes of this frivolousness that they live in, and they're left with this sense of emptiness and unimportance. Now those things were there to begin with, but now they're left with the sense of them. What do they do with this new sense of emptiness? Do they get a hobby? Do they start a new book? No. They leap over tall logic in a single bound and conclude that in order to make themselves feel better, they have to make someone else feel bad. Which is a wonderful segue into my 4th suggestion. Be nice. Your sense of importance shouldn't come from someone else's unimportance. In 1971, the psychologists at Stanford University conducted an experiment in which students were sorted into 2 separate categories, prisoners and guards. This was the Stanford prison experiment. They were to be simulating the balance of power in the real prison system and observing the psychological effects of perceived power. The 2-week experiment was cut short after just 6 days, after the guards started using psychological torture on their prisoners. This shows, among other things, that taking power or importance from other people doesn't make you more powerful or important. It makes you an asshole. And lastly, suggestion number 5. Listen and respond. It's a common phrase that there's no such thing as stupid questions. It's a helpful thing to use when bringing a new person in, training them up. But if you're going to use that phrase, mean it. Thank you so much for watching. It's a bit of a different video this week. This right here is supposed to be seaside, but the camera doesn't seem to want to be able to focus on me. This over here is actually vineyards. where we're working at the moment. You might be able to see it. If I step out of the frame, you might be able to see it in a minute and a half. Nope. So, a side note to everybody watching is that with a quick removal of the suggestion and snarkiness in this video, it contains some really good nuggets for everybody, not just managers. If you like this kind of video, just give me a thumbs up. I'll close my eyes so it's anonymous. And I'll see you next week. Bye.